Hi, I'm Noelia Trujillo, and this is my Unit 3 project, Criminal Psychology Research Project. My goal is to research a criminal of my choice to create their criminal profile and history. The criminal I picked is named Ed Gein.
You want Big Mac, a large Oak, a 6-piece bacon nugget, and 3 broccoli built bookies. Oh, gosh, that's what I want.
The reason why I picked him is because of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. It's based around him, and so are the movies Silent of the Lambs and Psycho. The 3 books that were all based around him and his behavior. These films would really have not been the same without him. Now, I know he is not as famous as some famous killers, or as well known as other killers that you're very familiar with, like Ted Bundy and Ben Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, and Jack the Ripper, things like that. People think he is more like iconic. People just think he's more iconic. So, what world-shaking crimes did this person commit to get these books and films made about him, and that were all based about him? And I had those questions because I keep on repeating that. It reminded me of the movies The Conjuring.
All the pretty girls walk like this. Pretty girls walk like this.
Because obviously they are based on true events, and those movies, the Texas Massacre and Psycho and Silent of the Lambs, based on this person, this kind of true event. It reminded me of that, and I was like, so this person, what did they do? Like, what were those events, the behavior that was so inspirational to these creative people? You just got you scratching your head like I was. So let's get started with his backstory. His full name is Edward Theodore Gein. He was born on August 27, 1906. Cool. He has the same birthday month as me. He died July 26 at 77 years old. He was also known as the Butcher of Plainfield. And at least some of us have an idea of why he was called that. Yeah, let's start with when he was a child. As we all know, no one is born evil, or at least they have a good reason, or not so good reason, to be, evil and that stuff, or just a bad person. Edward Theodore Gein, or Ed Gein, for short, was born in Cruz, Wisconsin, with his older brother Henry. Am I saying it right? Henry. Oh my god. Henry. They both lived with their father, George, who was an alcoholic, and his mother, Agustina. Around 1915, his mother, Agustina, moved the whole family away from the city, the community, Plainfield. Basically, outside of it, at a farm, a small, pretty nice looking, cozy farm that doesn't look that bad. The reason why is because his mother moved the whole. She was very emotionally abusive to the brothers and forced her beliefs on women, her whole beliefs, not just on women, but like how to think and feel, onto them. She was very inappropriate with both kids, opening up some very sexual matters with them both when they were, children. And Still, she continued, even when they were teens and stuff. She talked about matters that a mom should never, even a dad, should never talk about with their son or daughter. Their father hmm, was not better. He was physically abusive. So they were abused by both parents. Even if he didn't get hurt physically, he was getting emotionally hurt without him knowing. And his father was just hurting him physically. Sometime after all this, he dropped out of school and just focused on the farm. It's unclear if it was his mother that influenced him to leave school, or probably because he was bullied. I still don't really have a clear answer. But anyways, his mother continued with her very inappropriate behavior towards her two children, boys. I don't want to get too deep in the things and stuff she did specifically, but that she was teaching and telling them. But Ed started to have some type of feelings for his mom. Some feelings that should not really be for, his mom, because she's her mom. She's his mom. The toxic relationship she built was her own fault. She made it that way. Her son, Ed Gein, became very devoted to her because of all the beliefs she made him have. He could have been very different, but she just had to force the beliefs, tell women the world, the W word, all that stuff. And he probably saw her as pure, or the only woman that doesn't want those things. He was so devoted that as he got older, he did not see other people, other women. His mother caused this type of environment that was very inappropriate then, and it continues to be very inappropriate now, especially. I think they were both very inappropriate, but especially right now. Developed a I love you and I hate you relationship because of the circumstances his mom made and decisions. As the two brothers grew up, they both started to express their feelings a lot more often, as one does when they grow up, when they are, older, a teenager or a young adult, that now they don't fear to speak up now that they're older and probably have more of a say on what happens to them. And Henry, now having these feelings, now that he knew he could express these emotions that probably was haunting him for a while, he expressed his emotions to his mother. He questioned his mother's action and behavior towards them and her beliefs, because, what type of mother would do that? Basically. Ed didn't look so happy when Henry was just bringing light to the situation, talking about it, communicating the problem, which was his mother's behavior. And yes, his father, George, was doing all that, but I feel like Henry was more concerned about his mother's behavior, because I feel like George just at one time just stopped when they got older. But I feel like Agostina, their mom, just kept on going and going, and things get bad when you keep on going. And Ed didn't look so happy when Henry just, brought it to light. The 1st of April 1940, their father had just passed away at this date. Their mother, very devastated that her husband died, had a stroke not long after. Ed took care of their mom a little too lovingly and sweetly. Not really a way that you should take care of your mom, Ed. Um, Basically, kind of like a husband or like a lover or someone a little too close to their mom. Ed was like that. He sometimes went to sleep with her to make sure she was okay, rubbing her back, making sure she was okay. And at the same time, both brothers, Henry and Ed, worked odd jobs. Before, they also worked odd jobs, but more now that their father was gone, they had to support the farm somehow, so they did lots of odd jobs and worked most of the time together. On May 16, 1944, just 4 years after their father died, both brothers were burning bushes as one of their odd jobs. But the fire got out of control and they got separated as the fires were too much. It was gonna hurt them, it was gonna burn them, so they needed to separate. Ed went to get help, and when he came back with the help, he led everyone straight to his brother Henry, who was dead and he was hit in the head. And now you can skip this part, but like, I have a theory. One's theory after what Ed Gein did. Well, we'll talk about later. He got hit in the head. He was on the floor, and Ed Gein led the help to his body, and no one thought that it was weird. That nobody was investigating basically the incident. And they just wrote off as, oh, he just fell down and cracked it and died, because it's no sense. And so a lot of people think that Henry, his older brother of Ed Gein, was his first victim. It could have been an accident or on purpose. Maybe they're having a talk about their mom, and maybe it got out of control, just them talking about Henry and being more vocal about his feelings and how he was treated. And maybe Ed Gein just couldn't control himself and did that. That's just a theory. Crime theory. Very good theory. Thanks for watching. Agustina got a stroke. On December 29, she died. After his mother's funeral, that he digged up her dead body to take her back home to the farm. It was probably 2 days after her funeral. There was no one to stop him. There was no one to guide him. No one to tell him what to do next. There was no help. So it was natural, since he was all alone, he became a hermit, which means that someone that lives in solitary lives alone mostly because of religion sins. So basically, kind of like what his mother wanted him to do. And in 1947, after some time, basically what he did is, after the funeral at night, he would go and dig up the body of the woman. He always made sure that it was a woman. It was probably older than 50, and that they looked like mom. He wanted them to be looking like his mom. So anyways, it started as just cutting up body parts, just taking some body parts, some arms. And Hogan disappeared from the tavern she worked in Pine Grove, Wisconsin, on December 8, 1954. She was 51 years old, and the place was quite the popular place among young people. A lot of people that were younger that wanted to go there were so excited because some people said that she was pretty nice, pretty chill with the young folk, but they never got to because she disappeared almost on Christmas. She could have had Christmas, but she didn't. This person will come back. On November 16, 1957, Bernice Warden, a 58-year-old woman, went missing from her shop at the start of hunting season. Her son Frank, an officer deputy, came looking for his mom, but he found blood on the floor. As a worried son and officer, he got into work and already knew who did it. Ed Gein had been coming to her shop for the past few weeks a lot of times, and he was the last person to be at her store. He purchased one last thing. At this time, Ed Gein was at a dinner with some neighbors. Then the police came in and apprehended him. When the authorities went back to his house to find Frank's mom, they were met with a messy house, a horror sight, a not so nice looking friendly house. It was horrible. Miss Warden was beheaded. Her beheaded head next to some skulls. I picked this quote from that I got some of my information from. Quote, further investigation yielded more shocking discoveries, including organs in jars, skulls used as bowls for soup, and a belt made of human nipples. Ed had chosen a quick death for his two victims, Mary and Miss Warden. He has only killed 2 people. He has pleaded guilty for that. On November 21, 1957, Ed Gein found himself in country court. His trial began as he was committed on his first-degree murder for killing Mary and Miss Warden. Here's another quote from the same website that I mentioned before. Quote, After Gein's arrest, his lawyer, William Belta, intended of not guilty because in 1958, Gein was found unfit to stand trial after schizophrenia diagnosed. He was committed to Wisconsin, but a hospital in Mason. In 1958, his house, the farm, was burnt down, and the cause is a little mixed. It could have been the townspeople that burned it, or it could have been just like a short circuit or something else started. A lot of people say it was the town people that burned it down because they didn't want this to be an attraction, museum of the horrors that happened. So a lot of people say that it could have been just people not wanting the memory of what happened, and also I don't know if it was because of the rumors or because they believed it so, but the creators of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the second movie had a scene at the beginning of the movie. They had a scene where their house was being burnt down after they found out the horrors that happened at their house. So I think they took inspiration from what happened, actually, the news, or it could have been just the rumors they heard and they decided to put down their second installment. It could have been both stories, or it could have been just some rumors because people like drama. It could be a theory. That's my theory. Just a theory. A not so fun theory. And in 1970, he started to get health problems, and on July 26, 1984, at the age of 77, Edward Theodore Gein died of cancer, lung cancer, and health conditions and illnesses. He was buried in the same grave as he used to steal from. And that's it. That's his story. Now you see the inspiration for the books and the films. Norman Bates, Leatherface, the other guy. I haven't watched the movie, so I'm sorry. The Silence of the Lambs. I only watched those two movies, so I can't really give out the similarities. But I heard that movie was about cannibals. I know that. So far, I don't know, but I can about the other movies. You can come up with how and what parts they took from Ed Gein's story. Like on Psycho, they took the relationship Ed and his mother had. You can see as Norman has that type of relationship with his mom, and how he dressed up as her, and how he had her very close. And his mother, it seemed like before she died, it seemed like she was a jealous woman that had the same beliefs as Agustina, and how all women were the W word. So that's a similarity. That's a big one of how he came to be. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie book. It was about, they took the parts where it was about the gore. It was about, not the gore, but like the human furniture. And they copied some of that, and they copied how Leatherface had like a mask, and like it wasn't from women specifically, but he took the mask and he made the mask and he put makeup on the part where, the eating part of the human. There's been some reports about him eating some of the meat of the woman. And it could be true, but I only saw like in one source, and it was a newspaper. And sometimes newspapers just put like on the big headlines something to give attention. So maybe it's true, maybe it's not true, but I didn't see that much information to know if he was actually a cannibal. Like body parts that they found where they couldn't find they couldn't like really match the body parts. They were having a hard time assembling the woman that he took apart, that he stole. So it could be that they were used as one of his furniture, or it could be that he just theory, I guess. I'm not, although there's some information to not be a rumor. So MO was, just to like a reminder, a summary, was his victims were all women, although some debate that his motivation was to get his mother back. Articles I read, I feel like he was trying to get his mom back because he kept on getting women that looked like her, same age, all women, no men. He was trying to get his mom back, trying to feel like his mom was there with him. And things got out of control, as you saw. As we got into some necrophilia, I think it's how it's called. and it started as that, but then it went on as that. The weapon he used was a rifle to kill both women, as it seemed he didn't find any interest in torturing them or doing anything like some killers do that hurt them and do that, but he didn't do that. At this point, we all know that he did not have a healthy attachment to his mom. He did the things he did because of how he was treated, the environment, like all the environment, the conditions. There was not so much of it love or anything like that. It was mostly just being emotionally manipulated and being physically abused. It may not be from her, but it still had an impact in him. And he's starting because of how he was treated. I'm sure his brother also was really bad, but he was probably treated differently, or maybe he was treated the same way, but he was able to see other effects. Maybe it was because he was born in the city and was there in the city to see how a mom treated a son, or maybe he just wasn't really that much affected, or maybe he wasn't affected that much. I'm not really sure how Henry was doing before the upsetting of sometimes things like this actually happen, and then you ask, oh well, how did this happen? You could have never known. Well, he never got the help he needed because of his mom, and because you don't really think about that